Welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends normally spin a wheel once a week and it normally chooses the horror film, but today we're doing a bonus episode in honor of Evil Dead Rise, which has just come out in theaters this past weekend, and we're going to be talking about it today. I am your co-host Alec, and filling in for Eric today is the coolest dude in... I don't even know which area you live in LA, but the coolest dude in that area, Joe Testa.
That's debatable, but thank you, Alec. This is my favorite part of the show where you give me these introductions that I can never live up to.
Dude, I literally forgot I was going to all right, I got to come up with a new one. And then the second I started saying it, I was like, fuck, I got to come up with something. And so, yeah, my improv skills have definitely gone down since the pandemic.
No, it was brilliant.
So... Evil Dead Rise. We both just saw this yesterday. So today's Monday the 24th. The film came out on Thursday, I guess, a couple days ago. And you and I are both huge Evil Dead fans. I know you've been on the podcast. Which one did you cover with us? Was it the first one?
I actually have not covered any Evil Dead movies on the podcast.
Oh, no way.
Plenty of zombies, obviously, with Romero, but no Deadites.
Huh. Okay. Weird. Because I know the first Evil Dead ever was our first episode ever. And Eric's mic was so bad that we scrapped it. We re-recorded it.
I listened to that. I remember when you guys started this. I listened to that episode.
The intro's it's like, my name's Alec. And this is Eric. Like, it's just so shitty. But anyways, here we are 300-something episodes later, and we're covering the brand new Evil Dead Rise. This is obviously our first time seeing it, and it is our first time talking about it since we've seen it. So I have no idea what you think, Joe. You don't know what I think. Why don't we get going? What did you think, Joe?
I had a lot of fun. I thought this was a nice little surprise. I mean, I'm a big Evil Dead fan, but I can't say I was really chomping at the bit for this movie. I enjoyed the 2013 movie, and this looked like a sequel to that movie, which is all well and good. But yeah, I just had so much fun with this movie.
Yeah, dude. No, I totally agree with you. Every time they always say, a new Evil Dead is coming, I always get excited, but I'm always like, sure, heard that one before. And then Ash vs. Evil Dead, I was like, whoa, this is actually like a kind of return to form. I was excited about the 2013 film as well, and I like that one too. But yeah, when this one came out, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to read a thing about this. I'm not going to see any trailers. I'm going to do my best to avoid everything I can. And I'm glad I did. Because, yeah, same thing. I really enjoyed this, and I enjoyed it more not knowing anything. I didn't know if Bruce Campbell was going to come back. I didn't know, literally anything. So I guess they're doing that more, I think, with horror movies. I'm not going to watch anything about it because I like being super surprised.
Can you just refresh my memory on your Evil Dead background? How do you feel about the series in general?
Oh, dude, I'm obsessed. Mm-hmm. So I randomly, for absolutely no reason, one day was just at, do you remember Strawberries?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I would buy my CDs there.
Yeah, so I used to work at the one in Avon before it became FYE. So I was working there in high school. I was like the new release guy. So I got like a 20% discount, and basically literally all I did was just take my paycheck and just buy DVDs. And I would just buy whatever I could there. So I knew that Evil Dead was like a cool indie horror film, but I never seen it. Parents never saw it. Nobody ever told me about it. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to buy it. Still have that DVD now. I bought it when I was probably 15 or 16. Then from there on, the next day I went and bought Evil Dead 2. Then I bought Army of Darkness. I was just hooked, dude. Couldn't wait. I think I even played the video games, like the boomstick game for the Xbox. Like, it sucked, but I was just like all about it. So loved the remake. I've talked about that on the podcast. I saw that with my girlfriend. I'll never forget. She wouldn't talk to me when we left. She's like, don't fucking talk to me. She was so scared. Love the series. And yeah, so here we are. So I'm a huge, huge fan.
Got it. Cool. Yeah, I actually saw the original trilogy kind of in reverse order. I remember when Army of Darkness came out and the advertisement said from the director of Darkman, and that made me really excited because I had seen Darkman in theaters, but missed Army of Darkness in theaters, caught up with it later, really enjoyed it. Didn't see the other two until I was like a teenager with my friends and really loved them, especially Evil Dead 2. I mean, I loved the first one also. That's like just a awesome grindhouse movie. But Evil Dead 2 is just like Sam Raimi unleashed. There's nothing like that. I mean, there's a few things like that. We talked about Dead Alive on the podcast. That is something similar, but Evil Dead 2 and just Sam Raimi in general, he has such a unique vision. And I liked the remake. I felt it was a little more in the style of a lot of the remakes we got in the early 2000s, kind of a bit more grounded, a little more of more straight-faced take on the material without Sam Raimi's kind of quirkiness.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say with this movie, I feel like it was a bit of a return to that kind of quirkiness, that kind of Sam Raimi over the top zaniness. And I really appreciated that. That's kind of what I was hoping for from this movie is a return to that Sam Raimi flavor.
Yeah. When you were saying everything right there, it made me think the reason why I liked this one, maybe not more, but it reminded me of the original trilogy more than the 2013 one, is in the original one, and then in the second one, I guess in the third one, all because of the first one, it really, there's no explanation. It's just a group of kids in the woods, they find this book, and then all hell breaks loose. Very similar to this one, there's an earthquake, it opens up a old bank vault, they find the book, and boom, it just starts happening. The third one, the remake, the 2013 one, it gave a real world reason for them to all be there. It was like, she's detoxing from heroin, and that's what I didn't like, because it brings in like a real world problem into this horror film, which is just about zombies and stuff like that. It's a cool reason for them to have to stay at the cabin, but like, they didn't need that in the first one, and you just believed that they had, the bridge broke or whatever, and that's what stranded them there, but like, I don't know. This one didn't have that either. It's just random shit happening. So no real world incident to like, I don't know. And just the Oxycontin thing, all that shit's been like so prevalent in the news for years now. It's like, do we really need that in our horror film? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I think the remake was probably one of the better horror remakes we got out of that whole wave that started with Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 2003. And you can maybe even say, 10 years later, 2013, Evil Dead was maybe the end of that whole trend. And yeah, it was definitely a good one, but I was definitely hoping for something a little closer in spirit to that original trilogy for this new movie.
Well, I mean, I think we got it. It's not as funny, I don't think, as the second and third one. I think it's definitely like scarier than those two, but there were a few comedic moments. I think the thing that I like loved about this movie is it felt like an Evil Dead movie, but it was so different at its core, because every other Evil Dead has always been about friends or like boyfriends and girlfriends, or I guess we get the siblings in the 2013 remake, but this one was about a family and seeing like how that is. And I don't know what it was. I loved that. I loved that angle that they had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. All the little new flourishes, like taking place in an apartment building instead of a cabin, and in this, instead of reading the passages out of the Book of the Dead, it's on like an old record. It actually reminded me of the movie The Gate. Have you ever seen The Gate from the 80s?
No, I haven't even heard of it.
Yeah, we might have to mark that one down for the future. It's about these kids play a heavy metal album backwards and it unleashes demons. But so it kind of reminded me of that. But yeah, a lot of fun new little flourishes.
Yeah, dude, you're 100% right. The apartment building versus the cabin. You're like, ooh, I don't know if I'm going to like this. And then they do justify it with the earthquake. They lose the stairs, the elevator stops working. But I don't know if we want to start getting into our gripes a little bit here.
Yeah, go for it.
I have a tiny little gripe. Just a little one, So you remember when the sister gets wrapped up and the brother ties her up with the belts and all that stuff? It's like, I didn't want her moving or whatever. Remember that part?
Yes.
Dude, I know you're 5 stories up, but if this shit is happening and you've got the demon locked out in the hallway or whatever, you get extension cables, you get sheets, you get belts, you get everything that you got, and you climb your ass down there. I don't care if she holds her stomach. She's like, I'm pregnant. I can't make that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I was actually thinking, I wasn't 100% sure why they couldn't leave the apartment. It wasn't like clear to me. I figured it had something to do with the earthquake, but for the most part, I was having like such a good time with this movie that things like that I were just letting wash over me. I didn't even really consider it too much.
No, and you're smart to do that. I'm so critical. I hate it. But
no, while we're just nitpicking a little bit, I was actually thinking about, a little complaint that I had, although again, it's not really a complaint. The family has all these neighbors that end up getting killed in the hallway. And I was really hoping for, a real memorable, grotesque deadite, kind of like, I feel like we haven't really gotten that since, remember in like Evil Dead 2, there's that deadite with the skull face and he has like an extending neck.
Oh,
and then there's obviously Henrietta that comes out of the basement, like just like really memorable deadites. I feel like I would have liked to have seen a little more kind of crazy creativity when it comes to that, not that I'm complaining about what we got. I thought it was, it was really over the top at times and fun, but yeah, someone who just one of these kind of zombie creatures that's really going to stand the test of time.
The ending.
Well, yes. When what's her name? I forget her name. Our main creature, Ellie.
Yeah.
When she kind of combines with her kids, I thought that was fantastic. Like something straight out of John Carpenter's The Thing.
Dude, it looked like the shunting from Society. Have you seen that?
I know of it.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that, dude. But yeah, I was like, ooh. Okay, so I thought that kind of would have stood the test of time a little bit. Like it's going to be a memorable thing. I don't know.
Definitely. I was thinking specifically maybe those neighbors in the hallway were going to transform into something. But I think they just kind of mostly stick with the Exorcist kind of contact lenses. But again, not a complaint. This movie is overflowing with like awesome practical special effects.
Oh, I'm that's the thing. I want to be very clear. I'm just saying the negative stuff up front because I'm much more positive on this movie. And just speaking of positive, dude, Ellie, the actress that played her, was phenomenal. I thought Alyssa Sutherland, fantastic when she was playing like a mom. I believed it. She was cool. She's super hot. Like, loved her. And then as the demon, dude, terrifying, but also like, dude, that line where she's like, "Mommy's with the maggots now." Like, it was like the face. I was like, yo, she's so evil. Like, I just believed everything about her. I loved her.
Mm-hmm. No, same. Yeah. I'm definitely not going to argue with you. Loved her and her sister, who is like the hero of the movie. Her character's name's Beth, I believe.
Yes.
I thought she was great too.
Yeah, they're both great. They both have enough of a backstory for us to care about them, I guess. Like, we kind of understand their quirks a little bit.
Yeah, and I honestly didn't need any more. Like, I feel like they're just both very lived in, they just something about them, like their tattoos and just the way they dress. I'm like, I feel like I kind of understand these people. So I didn't need much more.
Yeah, and they talk about, like, when she's a demon, she's like, you're going to end up like Mom, you're going to be a failure. So they, like, throw little things in there that I'm like, ooh, I like this. One of the things that I love about Evil Dead movies in general, and this one just completely, satiates that desire, is when the shit hits the fan, it does not stop. And I love it. I love it, dude. There's so few horror movies where it's like such a contained environment. So it's like they can't leave, they can't go anywhere. And once one person gets possessed, you don't know who's next. It never stops. I don't know what it is. There's not many horror movies that get me so riled up when I'm watching them.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely a great sense of claustrophobia, kind of bringing me back to our Night of the Living Dead discussion.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Very much like that. Like, they're trapped and it's just, the pressure, it's a pressure cooker. They're just stuck in it. Mm-hmm. And I think the writer and the director of this did a great job. And I wanted to ask you, had you seen, this is his second film. Had you seen his first one, The Hole in the Ground?
I haven't. No, Lee Cronin. I have no idea who that is. And I almost feel like, Sam Raimi has stuck with this franchise, since its inception. It's really cool that he's still involved. And I think with these new movies, he's giving these young directors a shot to direct these movies, which is really cool.
Dude, it's amazing because it was the same thing with Fede Alvarez in the 2013 one. That was his directorial debut. And then just by chance, I watched The Hole in the Ground with Eric for the podcast, I think last St. Patrick's Day, because he's an Irish filmmaker. It was about Ireland. So we got my ex-girlfriend's cousin on from Ireland. We're like, do you want to do this horror film? He's like, I've never seen this. I have no idea what this is. We're like, yeah, you're Irish. It's fine. And he came on and we did it. And it's a pretty good movie. You can see it's his first movie. It's a low budget, but like, you know, you can see why Sam Raimi would see this guy and be like, I like him. I like his style. And exactly what you were just saying. He's a very new green director. Let's give him a shot. I love it.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And this movie grabbed me right from the beginning. We didn't talk about this opening scene that takes place on a lake, but you know, that really set the tone for the whole movie. And I felt like it let me know that Sam Raimi's fingerprints are like very much on this movie. As much as I liked that 2013 movie, I understood why it didn't feel like a Sam Raimi movie, because only Sam Raimi could do what Sam Raimi does, you know, and it's a very tricky balance, you know, like this kind of broad comedy and horror. I mean, that could go wrong in so many different ways, but somehow this movie, I felt like really captured that tone.
Now, I wanted to ask you, so like what moments specifically stood out to you that reminded you of that? Because I do feel like this one is more in line with the 2013 one in the darkness. Mm-hmm. So I wondered, like, what reminded you of the old one?
Yeah, I can definitely see what you mean, and it's almost a difficult thing to point to and say, well, you know, it's like this, but like little moments where, like when the demon like sucks out the eyeball of her neighbor and like spits it at the other guy and it lands in the other guy's mouth. I mean, just kind of like walking that line between Looney Tunes and The Exorcist.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. Oh, you know what else is a good one is the doll, Stabany, and he stabs the doll through her neck or whatever and has a little baby head doll on it. Like, I think a moment like that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'd have to see the movie again. It's still so fresh, but you know, I thought that 2013. I mean, listen, they're both over the top, gruesome horror movies, you know, and I think if you're going to this hoping for a really dark, demented horror movie, you're going to get that. But I don't know. There's just something kind of. It's like if you go to a Coen Brothers movie, you know, if you go to watch Fargo, you're not going to get just a straight crime drama. You know, you're going to get something a little more offbeat, and that's kind of how it is to watch a Sam Raimi horror movie. Yeah,
no, you're totally right. Now that you're saying that, it is sparking that definitely the same feelings. Yeah, I mean, to me, it felt more like the 2013 one, but it didn't feel as gruesome as the 2013 one. Like, there are some moments in this one which we'll get into, but the 2013 one I think really was like the meanest of the series.
100%. And that's what I meant when I was saying how it still feels connected to that early 2000s wave, you know, that started with Texas Chainsaw Massacre when these movies were really trying to be as kind of upsetting and kind of as vile as possible. And, you know, this movie totally doesn't pull its punches, but there's still something kind of over the top and cartoony about it that to me feels more Evil Dead. Because like, I mean, what is Evil Dead anyway? Like, we don't have a returning hero anymore. We don't have even a returning villain like a lot of the slasher franchises have. So kind of what is Evil Dead? And like, to me, it's a very specific tone. And I think they really nailed it here.
Well, now that you're saying that, the only thing that really connects the films now is the Necronomicon. And, dude, I didn't even think about it. Of course there's 3, because in Army of Darkness there's 3. And Ash is, like, trying to decide or whatever. And that's so cool. So this is potentially the first time we've seen this one, or this is the same one from the 2013 one. Like, I don't know. So I loved how they brought a new Necronomicon with, like, teeth and stuff. And this one, Because I think in the 2013 one, 5 people needed to die so that final thing could get resurrected. I don't know what the motive of the original trilogy's Necronomicon was, but this one, it seemed like they wanted to get family members. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I feel like the rules of the Evil Dead franchise, they've always played kind of fast and loose with them.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of fun about them. I mean, there isn't this strict continuity. I feel like to Sam Raimi, this series is just like playtime. It's just a way to have fun with your friends. I mean, that first movie he just did because horror was commercial. And the second movie, he was coming off a bomb and needed a hit. And like the third movie is a straight up Ray Harryhausen swashbuckling adventure. Like it's such a crazy franchise. So I don't really get bogged down in the minutia. I'm just kind of here for a good time.
Yeah, and it definitely provides that. I mean, thrill rides, gore, horror, a little bit of comedy sprinkled in. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I think that's what the franchise is. It's just kind of like different scenarios where this book gets involved and how would people deal with it. And I think it was cool adding the earthquake in because that removes the cell phone thing. It's like, oh, all the networks are down because of that. So that's a way for them to deal with modern technology, kind of like ruining horror. I like that.
Yeah, you always got to deal with that now.
Yeah, seriously, exactly. So I thought that was a creative way that they did that. The cast, so yes, we've already talked about Ellie, the mom, who gets possessed. Then she has her sister Beth, who comes to visit her after she finds out she's pregnant. She's like a touring, not a groupie, but she works for the music industry, and she's in trouble. Then she's got Ellie's 3 kids. I can't remember any of their names, but
same.
Yeah, Danny, Bridget, and Cassie, I think. So they're all, 3 little kids. I don't know, they're all fine. Like they all die eventually.
Yeah, they're all adequate and turn into pretty cool zombies and die horribly, except the youngest.
Right. The youngest escapes. It reminded me of Newt at the end of Aliens.
Oh, 100%. Yep, I was thinking that.
Yeah. Oh, before I forget, I want to ask you, the score of this movie, did it remind you of another film?
Not that I remember.
Okay. The whole time it was just screaming Hellraiser to me. It sounded so much like Hellraiser. I don't know why. That's all I was thinking of. But you didn't get that connection. No. Anyways. So the movie did pretty well so far. I mean, it's doubled its budget. So the budget was $19 million. It's made $42 over this opening weekend, which is not like a huge home run, but that's still pretty good for 3 days.
Yeah, definitely. And you know that this was supposed to go straight to streaming, right?
I know. HBO Max.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, they probably, watched this with whoever makes these decisions. And they probably said, we really have something here. And with all the success a lot of these, smaller horror movies have been having lately, I don't blame them for just going for it and releasing this wide.
Oh, I'm so glad they did, because I feel like if I watched this on like HBO Max, I would have been like, this is a little too good for this. Like, this probably should have been in theaters, so...
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I saw it with a pretty empty crowd, which was too bad. Yeah. Because I could imagine that this would have played really well with like a packed house.
Huh. Mine was full and people were excited. So, yeah, they had a little, I think I sent it to you, but yeah, they had a little like promo green screen little video thing set up there. So it was like a whole thing.
That's awesome. But you know what? Even though there was only, I don't know, maybe a dozen people in my audience, I could really feel them squirm in that one moment where Beth gets the cheese grater run along her leg.
Yes.
I mean, even with only a few people in the audience, I could feel them like squirming in their seats. So I could only imagine how some of these moments would have played in a packed house.
Dude, 100%. That moment was the big one. Everybody was just like, "Fuck!" Like everybody knew what that, or don't know, but like can imagine what that would feel like. 2 other moments that were huge. And this is a good way, not a good way to start the movie, but it's a way to get people like, fuck me, this is going to be a ride. Is right in the beginning when she tears her sister's scalp off.
Oh, yes.
Whoa! Like, God damn, yeah. So like, there's as we mentioned earlier, there's a little just like in the 2013 one, there's a little opening that doesn't have anything else to do with the movie really, and yeah, the demon rips her sister's scalp off, and it's just brutal. It's brutal. And then the other one is when the girl is eating glass and swallows it, and it pops through her throat. And I was like, all right, I'm done. Did you have any other moments that stood out to you?
Oh, it's just like the whole movie, isn't it? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I love the whole. It's not particularly gruesome, but there's a moment where you just see out of the peephole in the door, and it's just this fish-eyed lens kind of look, and all the neighbors are getting killed in the hallway. Just like really cool, interesting choices.
Yeah, that was cool because we didn't really get to see much. It was all through that fisheye lens thing, but I feel like I like preferred that because if we saw it, it would have felt like The Matrix. I feel like it would have just been her just I don't know dodging bullets and killing people. But yeah, it definitely is a good movie. I don't not like any of the Evil Dead movies, so I'm super happy that this one stayed with the franchise. I'm really hoping to make another one. I mean, hey, they do Evil Dead 6. Now we've got Beth and Cassie. We've got Mia. Yeah, Mia's still alive from the 2013 one. And come on, Ash. Bruce, come on. What are we doing? What are we doing? Come back. Let's just make this happen. Evil Dead 6, all of the timelines come together.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed Ash versus Evil Dead, but
Me too.
I definitely would have. I kind of wish they took all those resources and just made like a 2-hour Evil Dead 4, like a proper, just kind of continuation of Ash's story that way. Maybe I'm just not really a TV guy, so I just would have preferred that. But I'm still glad Ash versus Evil Dead exists because for a long time it seemed like Army of Darkness was going to be it.
I know. It's so weird now that I'm thinking about it. Like Ash vs. Evil Dead, Chucky, Scream. Like there's been a lot of horror franchises that have moved into TV.
And most of them I actually haven't checked out or checked out a first episode and that was it.
I know. I've only seen Ash vs. Evil Dead. I mean, I've heard Chucky's really good, so I don't know.
Yeah, I have heard good things about that, but I haven't watched it. Scream, I remember way back when that came out, I watched the first episode and I said, you know what? I don't think this is for me. I'm good.
Yeah, it was on MTV, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I would definitely recommend it if you like Evil Dead, if you like horror. I mean, it's fantastic. So, also, I don't know if you saw the trailer for The Boogeyman was in theaters. Was that there for yours?
It was indeed.
Oh, man. Yeah, so our episode on that will be coming out in a couple months. But, we got any last minute thoughts on Evil Dead Rise? Oh, actually, yeah. Why do you think it's called Evil Dead Rise?
I mean, I don't really have any deep thoughts on it, but it is just kind of a return to form for the series that's been dormant for 10 years now, believe it or not. So that's kind of as far as I thought about it.
That's a good, it's just rising back from the dead. The franchise has been greenlit back to life. I was just thinking, literally, it was like just for that opening shot when the girl floats out of the water and they're just like, all right, so then imagine the background, the words come up with her body and it says Evil Dead Rise. Like, all right, that's it. We're calling the movie that. Like, that's it. Like, nothing makes sense. It's fine, but that scene's gonna look so sick. As she's rising, it says Rise. Yes, absolutely. I'm in.
It was pretty sick.
It was amazing. Yeah. So, anyways, it's so funny because now you go back and you watch Dead by Dawn and you see, or Evil Dead 2, and you see when the boyfriend's getting strung up, you can see the strings so obviously. It's like so clear as day. But now you get this girl rising out of the water and it looks seamless. So it's just crazy to see like how far the technology's come. Even though I prefer practical effects, it looked amazing.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of the best of both worlds, right? There was probably some digital manipulation, but only where you absolutely needed it, and everything else looked very practical. Like I'm sure the fire was CGI. I mean, fire is like still, they can't seem to get that right, I feel like, but everything else looked like it was right there. It was probably an absolutely miserable movie to shoot.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, and speaking of that, though, just while we're on the Evil Dead subject, If Chins Could Kill, which is Bruce Campbell's autobiography, it's really fantastic. I'm actually thinking about rereading it. I haven't read it since it came out, 20 years ago. But the original Evil Dead is probably, it probably sounds like the absolute most miserable film shoot of all time.
Whoa, worse than Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Oh, that's a pretty bad one too, because it was like 150 degrees.
Yeah.
And Evil Dead was like the opposite. It was like freezing cold and just like living in this cabin soaked in like fake blood. And I don't know. I think I just know a little bit more about the Evil Dead shoot, and it just sounds like absolute misery.
Ugh, yeah, I know a little bit about it. I know they didn't have power, they didn't have a working bathroom, like all this stuff. It's just
And just like dealing with this like perfectionist director. I mean,
right.
Just like brutal.
Oh yeah, and didn't Bruce Campbell have like a broken ankle too?
He definitely had some injuries.
Yeah, and they were just like, shut up, and he kept like poking it with a stick, like Sam Raimi's like, come on, we got to make sure it looks consistent. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, so much abuse.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, I don't know, you got any last minute thoughts?
One last thing, I really appreciated that this movie was like 90 minutes long.
Right.
I mean, that happens so seldomly now. And I just feel like, not every movie should be 90 minutes, but a movie like this, I don't think there's any reason for it to be much longer. It was just like lean and mean and just, and it didn't really I was glad it didn't get bogged down in too much like continuity and minutia. Like I did find myself thinking, is Ash going to show up at the end? But then I was just like, oh no, screw that. This movie is just a fun little kind of one-off, and that's great.
Yeah, no, I agree. It didn't need Ash. I don't know. I'm fine that he didn't show up.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I would have, screamed like a schoolgirl if Ash showed up. But, it was totally fine that he didn't.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see more from Lee Cronin. Hopefully there's another Evil Dead movie or whatever TV show. I'll take anything. So hopefully there's more. But this was a lot of fun. I'm glad I got to see it. I'm glad we got to give our first impressions together. So thank you, Joe.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
All right. And if you guys haven't had a chance, we released our episode on Scary Movie 2 that came out on Monday. And we'll see you all next week. We swear to God with Poltergeist 2.
Oh no, you still haven't released that?
Eric fucked up and he watched Scary Movie 2 and he's like, dude, I can't do it. So yeah, we had to do Scary Movie 2.
Oh man, those Poltergeist 2 fans. They're coming.
I know. So yes, Poltergeist 2 will be out this upcoming Monday. And thank you all again and have a great week.